The rain fell like tears from heaven that night in Lagos. Thunder cracked across the sky, shaking the earth beneath. The roads were slick with water, and the streetlights flickered as if they too were afraid of what was about to unfold. On Lekki Ape Expressway, through the curtain of rain and fog, a car swerved violently, metal screaming against asphalt, glass shattering into 1,000 pieces, then silence. But not for long, because on this night, a pregnant doctor risked everything to save a stranger bleeding out in the wreckage. She didn't know the dying man in that crumpled Mercedes was the billionaire she'd spent one passionate night with 7 months ago. She didn't know he was the father of the child growing inside her womb. And she certainly didn't know that fate was about to rewrite both their stories. If you believe every life matters, no matter the past that haunts it, tap that like button right now, because this story will challenge everything you think you know about second chances. Her name was Dr. Sarah Okafor, 7 months pregnant, exhausted, underpaid, and utterly alone. The fluorescent lights of Lagos General Hospital had become her only companion. While other women her age were planning baby showers and painting nurseries, Sarah was pulling double shifts, saving lives while her own body screamed for rest. She had no husband, no ring on her finger, no family that spoke to her anymore. They had called her foolish, reckless, a disgrace to the Okafor name. "You gave yourself to a man you barely knew," her mother had said, her voice cold as stone. "One night, that's all it took for you to throw away your dignity. Now you will raise this child alone. Don't come crying to us." And Sarah hadn't. She hadn't cried. Not once. She simply worked. Day after day, night after night, her hands healing the wounds of strangers, while her own heart remained heavy with questions. But if you asked her about the father, she would only say one thing: he doesn't know, and he never will. The truth, though, the truth was more complicated than she dared to admit. 7 months ago, everything changed. It was a medical conference at the Eco Hotel. 3 days of presentations, networking, and overpriced coffee. Sarah had been invited to present her research on maternal mortality in rural communities. She was nervous, excited. This was her chance to make a name for herself beyond the hospital walls. On the second night, there was a gala dinner. She wore a simple blue dress, the only formal outfit she owned. She felt out of place among the designer gowns and expensive jewelry. That's when she saw him, tall, handsome, standing alone by the balcony, staring out at the Lagos skyline. She wouldn't have approached him. She was too shy, too focused on her career. But then he turned and smiled. "Not a fan of parties either?" he asked. "Is it that obvious?" She laughed nervously. "Only to someone who feels the same way." He extended his hand. "I'm Chike. Sarah." And just like that, they talked about everything, about nothing, about dreams and disappointments and the weight of expectations. He told her he worked in business. She didn't ask details. She told him about her work saving mothers. He listened like every word mattered. Hours passed like minutes. And when he asked if she wanted to continue the conversation somewhere quieter, she said yes. One night, that's all it was. One night of laughter and vulnerability, and a connection she'd never felt before. He was gentle, kind, present in a way that made her forget, just for a moment, how lonely her life had become. When dawn broke, she expected awkwardness, regret. Instead, he held her close and whispered, "Can I see you again?" "I'd like that," she said. They exchanged numbers. He kissed her forehead and promised to call. But life had other plans. That same morning, Chike's mother suffered a massive stroke in Abuja. He left Lagos in a panic. No time for goodbyes. No time for explanations. He sent Sarah one text. "Family emergency. I'm so sorry. I'll explain everything when I get back." She waited. 1 day, 2 days, a week. No response. She called. His number was disconnected. She searched for him online, but Chike was a common name. She didn't know his last name. Didn't know where he worked. Didn't know anything except that for one night, he'd made her feel seen. And then 2 months later, she discovered she was pregnant. She tried to find him. Asked around at the conference organizers. but they had no record of a Chike in business consulting. It was like he'd never existed. So Sarah made a choice. She would have this baby. She would raise it alone. She would prove to everyone and to herself that she didn't need a man to be a good mother. But late at night, when the baby kicked, she wondered, did he ever think about her? Did he regret that night? Or was she just another woman he'd forgotten? If you've ever been left without answers, comment strength below, because what happened next will change everything. It was past midnight when her shift finally ended. The hospital was quieter now, save for the rhythmic beeping of machines and the soft whispers of nurses changing shifts. Sarah clutched her swollen belly as she walked through the corridor. The baby kicked. Strong. Restless. Just like its mother. "Soon, little one," she whispered. "Soon we'll be home." But home was just a one-bedroom flat in Suralere. No crib yet. No baby clothes. Just medical textbooks and a mattress on the floor. She had 2 months left. 2 months to figure out how to be both mother and father to a child conceived in one beautiful, confusing night. As she stepped into the rain-soaked parking lot, lightning split the sky in two. Her car, a tired old Toyota Corolla, coughed to life after 3 attempts. The roads were almost empty. Just her, the rain, and thoughts she couldn't silence. But then she saw it. The wreckage. A black Mercedes-Benz wrapped around a palm tree. Smoke rising from the hood. The driver's side door crumpled like paper. Sarah's heart stopped. Every instinct told her to keep driving. She was pregnant. Tired. This wasn't her responsibility. But she was also a doctor. She pulled over, hazard lights flashing, and grabbed her medical bag from the back seat. The rain soaked through her scrubs immediately as she ran toward the wreck. "Hello, can you hear me?" Silence. She yanked at the door. It wouldn't budge. Through the shattered window, she could see him. A man in a tuxedo, head slumped forward, blood trickling down his temple. Sir, stay with me." She reached through the broken glass, ignoring the cuts on her arms, and checked his pulse. Weak, but there. "Someone call an ambulance," she screamed into the empty night. But there was no one. Just her, the rain, and a dying man who couldn't wait 20 minutes for help. If you've ever witnessed someone risk everything for a stranger, show your respect by hitting that like button, because what she did next would change her life forever.
Before we go any further, can I ask you for a small favor? This story took me days to write, record, and edit. Every frame, every emotion, every sound. It cost you nothing to support me, but it truly means everything to me. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you have not, and comment your location below. I want to know where my amazing viewers are watching from. I read every comment, and I will be giving shout out in my next video.
She couldn't move him. Not safely, but she could stabilize him. Her hands moved with the precision of someone who had done this 1,000 times. Pressure on the head wound. Check for spinal damage. Clear the airway. The baby kicked again, harder this time. A contraction rippled through her abdomen. Not now. Please, not now. She breathed through the pain and kept working. As she applied pressure to the wound, something caught her eye. The man's hand, limp against the steering wheel. A distinctive scar across his knuckles, like he'd punched something hard, and the skin had healed unevenly. Her breath caught in her throat. No, it couldn't be. She leaned closer, rain pouring down her face, trying to see his face through the blood and swelling. The jawline, the shape of his nose, the way his hair curled at the edges despite being matted with blood. Her hands began to shake. "Chike?" she whispered. But he didn't respond. Couldn't respond. Another contraction hit. This one stronger. Her phone rang. The ambulance dispatcher. "Ma, we're stuck in traffic on 3rd Mainland Bridge. Storm caused a pileup. It's going to be another 15 minutes. Can you keep him stable?" Sarah looked at the unconscious man, at the familiar scar on his hand, at the face she'd tried so hard to forget. "Yes," she whispered. "I can keep him stable." Because no matter who he was, no matter how he'd disappeared from her life, she was still a doctor, and doctors save lives, even when those lives have broken theirs. The ambulance finally arrived. Paramedics loaded him onto a stretcher. Sarah climbed in beside him, ignoring the medic's protests. "Doctor, you're pregnant. You shouldn't." "I'm fine. Drive." As the ambulance sped through the flooded streets of Lagos, Sarah stared at the man on the stretcher. The monitors beeped steadily. His vitals were weak, but holding. She reached out and touched the scar on his hand. 7 months ago, he'd told her how he got it. A stupid bet with friends in university. Punching a wall to prove he was tough. "I was young and foolish," he'd laughed. "Now I carry the reminder forever. Some reminders are worth keeping," she'd said. He'd kissed her hand then. "Some definitely are." Now, looking at that same scar, she whispered, "Why didn't you come back, Chike? Why didn't you call?" He didn't answer. He couldn't. But the baby inside her kicked, as if to say, "He gave you me." And for the first time in 7 months, Sarah began to cry. They rushed him into surgery the moment they arrived at Lagos General. Sarah tried to follow, but the head nurse stopped her. "Dr. Okafor, you're not operating tonight. Look at yourself." Sarah glanced down. Her scrubs were soaked in rain and blood. Her hands were trembling. "I'm fine, Nurse Beasy. You're 7 months pregnant and having contractions. You need to rest." I said I'm fine. The hallway fell silent. Other nurses turned to look. Nurse Beasy's voice softened. "Sarah, let someone else save him. You've done enough." But how could she explain? How could she tell them that the man on that operating table wasn't just another patient? He was the reason she woke up every morning wondering if she'd made a mistake. The reason she worked herself to exhaustion. The reason she had a child growing inside her that she both loved and resented. He was the ghost that haunted her. And now he was bleeding out in her hospital. "I need to be there," Sarah said quietly. "Please." Nurse Beasy sighed. "Fine, but you're observing, not operating. If you've ever felt torn between your duty and your pain, comment torn below, because what Sarah faced next would test every ounce of courage she had. The operating room was cold, sterile. The bright lights hummed overhead. The surgical team worked quickly. Dr. Ibrahim, the head surgeon, barked orders. Nurses moved like dancers in a choreographed routine. And Sarah stood in the corner, hands clasped over her belly, watching. They cleaned the blood from his face. Piece by piece, the man beneath the injuries was revealed. The strong jawline she'd traced with her fingers. The small scar above his left eyebrow, from a childhood fall he'd mentioned. The lips that had whispered promises in the dark. Sarah's knees nearly gave out. It was him, Chike, the man from the conference, the father of her child. And she had no idea why he'd vanished. No idea where he'd been for 7 months. No idea if he'd even remember her name. "Dr. Okafor?" Dr. Ibrahim's voice cut through her thoughts. "Are you all right?" Every eye in the room turned to her. "Ah, yes. I'm fine. You look like you've seen a ghost." Maybe I have, she thought, but she forced a smile. "Just tired." "Continue, doctor." The surgery continued. Each minute felt like an hour. And Sarah stood there, watching the man who'd changed her life fight for his. 3 hours later, the surgery was done. Chike was stable but unconscious, moved to the ICU for monitoring. Sarah sat outside his room, staring through a glass window. Machines beeped steadily. His chest rose and fell with each breath. She should leave. Go home. Rest. But she couldn't move. "Dr. Okafor?" She looked up. A young man in an expensive suit stood before her, his executive assistant. She guessed, "Yes." "I'm Tund, Mr. Jacobson's assistant. I just got the call from the hospital." He looked exhausted, worried. "The doctor said you saved his life tonight." Jacobson, Sarah thought. So that's his last name. "He's stable now," she said quietly. "He just needs rest." "Thank you." Tund's voice cracked. "Chike is... He's been through so much these past 7 months. His mother's illness, the pressure from the family. If something had happened to him..." Sarah's heart stopped. His mother was ill. She had a major stroke 7 months ago. Chike dropped everything to take care of her in Abuja. He barely left her side. Tun shook his head. She finally recovered last month. He just returned to Lagos this week. The world tilted. 7 months. He'd been in Abuja for 7 months. Taking care of his mother. He hadn't abandoned her. He hadn't forgotten her. He'd been fighting his own battle. Did he? Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. Did he have his phone? His mother made him turn it off. Said the stress of work calls would kill her faster than the stroke. Tun laughed bitterly. She's always been controlling like that. Sarah couldn't breathe. All this time, all these months of thinking, he'd used her and discarded her. He'd been trapped, taking care of his dying mother. Doctor, are you okay? I need some air. She stood and walked away, her legs moving on autopilot. She found an empty supply closet, locked the door, and collapsed against the wall. Sobs tore from her throat. Raw, uncontrollable. He didn't leave her by choice. He was caring for his mother. And she convinced herself he was just another man who'd taken what he wanted and disappeared. She'd been so wrong. Morning came too quickly. Sarah splashed cold water on her face in the hospital bathroom. Her eyes were swollen. Her body ached. But she had patience to see. Rounds to make. She couldn't fall apart. Not here. Not now. As she walked past the ICU, Nurse Beasy called out to her. Dr. Okafor, Mr. Jacobson, is awake. He's asking for you. Sarah's heart stopped. What? He kept asking who pulled him from the car. When we told him Dr. Sarah Okafor, he became very emotional. He wants to see you. Sarah shook her head. I can't. Sarah, I said I can't, Beasy. Tell him I'm with other patients. Tell him anything. But before Nurse Beasy could respond, a voice called out from the ICU. Sarah, weak, hoarse, but unmistakable. She turned slowly. Through the glass window, Chike was sitting up in bed, staring at her with tears streaming down his face. Their eyes met, and 7 months of unanswered questions hung in the air between them. She couldn't avoid him. Not anymore. Slowly, she pushed open the door to his room. The machines beeped steadily, and 4 drip fed into his arm. Bandages covered half his face. But his eyes were the same. It's really you, he whispered. Sarah stood by the door, arms wrapped protectively around her pregnant belly. How are you feeling? Her voice was professional. Distant. You saved my life. I'm a doctor. It's my job. Sarah, please don't do this. Do what? Act like we're strangers. His voice cracked. I've been searching for you for 7 months. Her breath caught. Searching? My phone died that morning. When I got to Abuja, my mother, she was in a coma. For 3 months, Sarah. 3 months of not knowing if she'd wake up. He wiped his eyes. When she finally did, she was paralyzed. Couldn't speak. Couldn't move. I became her full-time caretaker. Your assistant said she made you turn off your phone. She couldn't speak, but she could write. And what she wrote. He laughed bitterly. She told me if I didn't focus completely on her recovery, she'd will everything to charity, leave me with nothing. I was trapped, Sarah, between caring for her and try to save the family business from collapsing. Sarah felt tears building. You could have sent a message, an email, something. I tried. After 2 months, I got a new phone. I called your number. It said it was disconnected. I couldn't afford the bills, she whispered. I had to switch to a cheaper line. I went back to the hotel. Asked the conference organizers for your information. They said it was confidential. His voice broke completely. I had your first name and your profession. Do you know how many Dr. Sarahs work in Lagos? Dozens. I visited 5 hospitals. None of them knew you. She wanted to be angry, wanted to hold on to the pain, but she saw the truth in his eyes. He hadn't forgotten her. He'd been searching. I'm pregnant, she said suddenly. The words hung in the air. Chike's eyes dropped to her belly. His face went white. How far along? 7 months. She watched him do the math, watched the realization dawn. Is it? Yes. His hands gripped the hospital sheets. Sarah, You don't have to say anything. I'm not asking for anything from you. I just thought you should know. Don't have to. He tried to sit up, wincing in pain. Sarah, I've spent 7 months trying to find you. 7 months hating myself for losing you. And now you're telling me you're carrying my child, and I don't have to say anything? What do you want to say, Chike? That I forgive you? That everything's okay now. I want you to let me be part of this. Part of your life. Part of our baby's life. You don't even know me. One night doesn't make us a family. Then let me know you. Let me prove that that night meant something to me. He was crying now, fully crying. Please, Sarah, please don't shut me out. I've already lost 7 months. Don't make me lose the rest. Sarah's walls crumbled. She walked to his bedside and sat down. Slowly, she took his hand, the one with the scar, and placed it on her belly. The baby kicked. Chike's eyes widened. I felt that. That's your child, Sarah whispered. Fighting. Strong. Just trying to be born into a complicated world. Like both of us, Chike said softly. They sat like that for a long time. 2 broken people. And the child that connected them. If you believe in second chances, hit that like button right now. But peace doesn't come easily in Lagos. 3 days later, a woman stormed into the hospital like a hurricane in expensive Ankara fabric. Mrs. Jacobson, Chike's mother. Sarah was making her rounds when she heard the commotion. Where's my son? Where's Chike? Nurses scattered. The head of hospital security tried to calm her. Ma, please, this is a hospital. I don't care. I demand to see my son immediately. Sarah took a deep breath and approached. Mrs. Jacobson. The woman turned. Her eyes were sharp, calculating. She looked Sarah up and down, her gaze lingering on the pregnant belly. And you are? Dr. Sarah Okafor. I'm overseeing your son's recovery. How convenient. Mrs. Jacobson's voice dripped with suspicion. My son has an accident, and suddenly he's being cared for by a pregnant young doctor. Tell me, how did this happen? I was driving past when I saw the crash. I provided emergency care until the ambulance arrived. How noble. She stepped closer. And how far along are you, my dear? Sarah's jaw tightened. That's personal. 7 months, I guess, which means you conceived around. Her eyes narrowed. February. The medical conference at Eco Hotel. Sarah's blood ran cold. Mrs. Jacobson smiled. A predator's smile. I always do my research, doctor. I know my son attended that conference. I know he extended his stay by 1 night. And I know he came back different. Distracted. His head in the clouds. Mrs. Jacobson. Is that baby my son's? The corridor fell silent. Every nurse, every patient nearby stopped to listen. That's none of your business. Everything concerning my son is my business. She leaned in close, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper. Listen carefully, girl. My family built an empire. We don't let gold diggers destroy it. I'm not a gold digger. No. Then why didn't you mention this pregnancy before? Why wait until my son is vulnerable, injured, lying in a hospital bed? I didn't know he was. Save it. I know your type. Poor, ambitious, sees a wealthy man and thinks, here's my ticket out. She straightened. But I won't let you trap my son with a bastard child. Sarah's hands clenched into fists. You need to leave. Or what? You'll call security? Go ahead. But know this. I can destroy you. 1 phone call, and your medical license disappears. 1 conversation with the hospital board, and you're unemployed. I can make sure you never work in Lagos again. Mrs. Jacobson. Chike's voice rang out. He stood at the end of the hallway, leaning on Tun for support. He looked weak, but his eyes burned with fury. Step away from her. Now! If you stand against injustice, comment justice below. Because what happens next will shock you. Chike, darling, I'm only trying to protect you. By threatening the woman who saved my life, he moved closer, each step clearly painful. By insulting the mother of my child, Mrs. Jacobson's composure cracked. Your child? You can't possibly believe. I don't believe. I know. He reached Sarah's side. This is Dr. Sarah Okafor. We met at the conference 7 months ago. We spent one night together. One beautiful, honest night where I felt more myself than I have in years. You barely know her. And whose fault is that, Mother? His voice was cold. If you hadn't made me turn off my phone, if you hadn't controlled every aspect of my life for months, I would have found her. I would have been there for her, for our child. I was dying. You were controlling. The words echoed through the corridor. Even from a hospital bed, you manipulated me, made me choose between being your son and being my own man. Mrs. Jacobson's face went pale. How dare you speak to me this way? How dare you threaten the woman I love? Silence. Sarah's heart stopped. Love? Chike turned to her. I don't know if you can ever forgive me for losing 7 months. I don't know if you can trust me after everything. But I know this. That night changed my life. You changed my life. And I want to be part of yours. If you'll have me. Tears streamed down Sarah's face. Chike. That baby is mine. I don't need a DNA test. I don't need proof. I feel it, and I want to be its father. Not from a distance. Not with monthly checks. I want to be there for the midnight feedings. The first steps. The scraped knees. All of it. Mrs. Jacobson laughed bitterly. And how will you do that? You have no job. No money of your own. Everything you have comes from a family business. Then I'll build something new. He looked at his mother. I quit. You what? I quit. Effective immediately. Find someone else to run your empire. Mother, I'm done being your puppet. Chike, you're not thinking clearly. You're injured, emotional. I'm finally thinking clearly for the first time in 30 years. Mrs. Jacobson's mask finally shattered. Tears filled her eyes. I almost died, Chike. I needed you. And I was there. For 7 months, I put my life on hold. But I can't anymore, because I have a child coming. And I refuse to be the kind of father who chooses everything else over being present. He turned back to Sarah. I know I don't deserve a second chance, but I'm asking for one anyway. Not for me, for our baby. Let me prove I can be the man you met at that conference. The real me, not the heir, not the obedient son. Just Chike. Sarah looked into his eyes and saw something she'd been afraid to hope for. Truth. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Mrs. Jacobson left without another word. Her driver helped her into a black SUV, and she disappeared into Lagos traffic. But the damage was done. Within hours, the story spread throughout the hospital. The pregnant doctor, the billionaire heir, the dramatic confrontation. Sarah tried to ignore the whispers, the stares. She had work to do. But that evening, as she prepared to leave, Nurse Beezy stopped her. Sarah, you should see this. She handed her a tablet. On the screen was a news headline. Jacobson heir announces fortune for love. Walks away from Billionaire empire. Below it, a photo of Chike leaving the hospital with Tund. He really did it, Nurse Beezy whispered. He gave up everything. Sarah's hands trembled. He shouldn't have. Why not? Because I'm not worth losing everything for. Maybe that's not for you to decide. Nurse Beezy smiled gently. Maybe he finally found something more valuable than money. Purpose, love, family. Sarah touched her belly. The baby kicked, strong and insistent. What do I do, Beezy? How do I trust this? You take it one day at a time. Let him prove himself. And forgive yourself for being scared. 2 weeks passed. Chike visited every day. He brought food, baby books, ridiculous amounts of optimism. I got a job, he announced one afternoon, grinning like a child. Doing what? Business consulting. Small firm in Abuja. Nothing glamorous, but honest work. Chike, you don't have to. Yes, I do. I need to build something that's mine. Not my family's. Mine. He took her hand. For us. For our baby. Sarah wanted to protest. Wanted to tell him it was too much too fast. but she saw the determination in his eyes. He was trying, and maybe that was enough. The contraction started on a Tuesday night. Sarah was at home, folding tiny baby clothes she'd finally allowed herself to buy when the first wave hit. Sharp, intense. No. It's too early. I still have 2 weeks. Another contraction. Stronger. She grabbed her phone and called Chike. He arrived in 10 minutes, breathless and panicked. Is it time? Are you? Oh, God, is that you're bleeding? It's just spotting. It's normal. We need to get to the hospital. Right. Hospital. I can do that. He grabbed her overnight bag, dropped it, picked it up again. Okay, let's go. I've got you. Despite the pain, Sarah laughed. Have you been practicing? Every night. Ton's been quizzing me on labor stages. I'm ready. I'm so ready. I'm not ready at all. Chike. Yes. Breathe. Right. Breathing. That's step 1. They made it to the hospital. Barely. The delivery room was chaos. Contractions every 2 minutes. The baby was coming fast. Chike held Sarah's hand, his face pale but determined. You're doing amazing, he whispered. So strong. So brave. I can't do this. Yes, you can. I believe in you. Easy for you to say. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm useless. What can I do? Despite everything, Sarah smiled through the pain. Just stay. Don't leave. I'm not going anywhere. Ever. One final push. And then a cry. Loud. Strong. Perfect. It's a boy, the obstetrician announced, placing the tiny, wiggling baby on Sarah's chest. Sarah looked down at her son, at his tiny fingers, his small nose, his eyes squeezed shut against the bright lights. Hello, little one, she whispered. I'm your mama. Chike leaned in, tears streaming down his face. And I'm your papa. I know I'm late, but I'm here now, and I promise I'll never leave you. The baby opened his eyes, and in that moment, something shifted. 3 people, brought together by chance, by fate, by love that refused to die. What should we name him? Chike asked softly. Sarah thought for a moment. Chisholm. It means God is with me. Chisholm, Chike repeated, his voice full of wonder. Perfect. 3 months later, Sarah stood in her small kitchen in Surleer, making breakfast. Chisholm slept peacefully in a bassinet nearby. Finally, after a night of crying and feeding, Chike entered hair messy, wearing an old t-shirt and sweatpants. He looked nothing like the billionaire she'd met at that conference. He looked better. Real. Present. Happy. Is he finally asleep? He whispered. For now. Give it 20 minutes. Chike laughed. I'll take what I can get. He poured 2 cups of tea. I got the promotion yesterday. What? Chike, that's amazing. It's small, but it means I can finally contribute more. Maybe we can move to a bigger place. Get a proper crib. We have a crib. We have a borrowed bassinet and prayers. He smiled. Our son deserves more. Our son has 2 parents who love him. That's more than many children get. Chike pulled her close. I love you, you know that? You've mentioned it, once or twice. She smiled. I love you too, even though I lost 7 months. Because you spent every day since making up for them. They stood like that, holding each other, as dawn broke over Lagos. Not perfect, not wealthy, not what either of them had planned, but real, and that was everything. So let me ask you something. If you were in Dr. Sarah's shoes, would you have given him a second chance? Would you have believed his story about his mother's stroke? Or would you have raised your child alone, protecting your heart from more pain? Leave your answer in the comments, because your story might inspire someone else who's facing the same choice. And if you believe every mother deserves support, every father deserves a chance to prove himself, and every child deserves parents who choose love over pride, hit that subscribe button. Join the Afro Moon Folktales family, because we tell stories that heal, stories that challenge, stories that remind us that even in our darkest nights, Dawn always comes. Thank you for listening. And remember, life doesn't give us perfect circumstances, but it gives us chances to create something beautiful from the broken pieces. Take the chance. Choose love. Choose the truth. And never give up on the people worth fighting for.